So while Minister Van Loan and his American counterpart discussed border security and trade, what's the situation for those Canadians who depend on the free flow of people and goods across the border? Martin Stringer met with two members of Parliament's all-party border caucus, those MPs with ridings right along the U.S. border.
Gord Brown, Brian Massey, we have the head of Homeland Security meeting with our Minister of Public Safety. They're talking about the big picture. On the border, what are your concerns for what we call the thickening of the border? What are you seeing on the ground? Let's start with you, Gord, on the New York border.
Well, first of all, as of Monday, we're going to see the requirement for a passport or a WHTI compliant document to enter the United States. So I believe that it's going to cause a lot of issues come Monday, because a lot of people, Americans currently in Canada, don't have those documents. As well, Canadians are not, enough of them don't have those documents that are going to ensure that all the people that want to go to the United States as of next week are going to have an easy way to get in. I don't believe that they'll actually lock the border down next Monday. I think they may just give warnings and say, you know, we're going to document that, and the next time you come through, you're not going to get in unless you've got the appropriate documentation. But we are concerned that it's going to slow down commerce, and it's going to hurt both of our economies.
Brian, what about you? Because both of you sit on the border caucus, and you've been talking to American representatives. Louise Slaughter, for example, a year and a half ago, was already talking about even the anticipation of having to have a passport was starting to hurt trade and cross-border shopping and tourism. What do you think is going to happen after Monday?
Well, you'll continually see a decline to that as well. What's really emerged, that people are seeing quite vividly now, the policies of militarization of the border. In the Windsor area, for example, we now have drone planes that'll be launched in the upcoming months. There's Black Hawk helicopters. There's gunboats that have machine guns on them, M20s, M60s, sometimes upwards of 1,200 bullets a minute they can actually shoot. And as well, too, we have spy towers and fencing that might be going up on different parts. So what people are seeing is a changing relationship. You have to understand is that, you know, people go over across the border to work with business partners, to see family, friends, you see sporting events, and we've witnessed a real clampdown, and almost like they're trying to treat the Canadian or U.S. border similar to the Mexican border. And that's been one of the Napolitano's policies, where she's had to backpedal a little bit because of her earlier statements, similar to that of terrorists coming from Canada.
Well, let's talk about that, both of you. I mean, open question. A lot of people, I mean, many people, I don't know, applauded the Obama administration or were supportive of the Obama administration when he was elected, but a lot of people are suggesting that Janet Napolitano and the new Homeland Security regime seems to be as strict or maybe even stricter. Gord, what's your reading on it, especially that comparison with the Mexican border?
I've already been down to Washington, and Brian was with us as well a few months ago, and we met Americans just a week ago up in Quebec at our annual meeting of the Canada-U.S. Interparliamentary Group. There is a growing protectionist sentiment, and this is just sort of a non-tariff barrier that is in fact going to be hurting both economies in both countries.
A lot of people have said one of the key issues is if she's going to treat the two borders similarly, she's going to have a lot more resources on the American-Canadian border if she's going to try and. Do you have any sense that there are bigger problems to come on the Canadian-American border?
Oh, I believe so. There's the APHIS fees, which is now going to hit agriculture, as well as there's been a number of different bills that have come from different members that affect border management policies. So we have a lot of challenges, and we seem to, no matter what we sign off on and do, don't have the capability to affect the different departments. And Napolitano's, I think, position on this has been quite political in the sense that there's a lot of southern states that have been insisting that the northern border is as big a problem as the southern border, but they're not. I mean, we have literally thousands of people flooding into the United States, and sometimes they don't even deal with it because they have companies like Walmart that want to use them as employees. So, this is a real challenge for us because we see security and thickening added through policy and procedure and lack of resources.
Okay, you both mentioned you've been down to Washington. You've been both sitting on the caucus, the border caucus for quite a while. Gord, what about that? Is there concern that this whole new administration has to, learn lessons that were learned by constant lobbying by their Canadian partners, saying we don't need the kind of measures that you think you need on the northern border?
There has been no lack of effort on behalf of Canadian parliamentarians and the Government of Canada to make sure that the U.S. administration and the U.S. legislators understand the implications of the actions that they're taking. making. And we have been lobbying in terms of this border issue now for about 4 years. It's been ongoing. We did have some success in having it put off, but here we are only days away from when it is going to be implemented, and there are going to be repercussions for that.
What kind of a summer is it going to be then for both of your ridings? For Gananoque, Leeds-Grenville on the New York border, for Windsor, obviously you've got the particular challenges of the auto sector, but in terms of cross-border shopping, cross-border transport, cross-border tourism, what do you think?
Well, it's already down, and I think that people are going to start to see some of the more visible imprints once again with the militarization that are going to give different mixed signals about our relationship with the United States. And I don't believe the government should be signing agreements with the United States where we're creating myths of danger and issues that need to be addressed that simply aren't there. I mean, once again, these gunboats have firing capability and autocannons up to 1,200 bullets a minute. Now,
what boats that are going to patrol the Great Lakes?
Yeah, they're already out there, and now they actually can arrest Canadians. So, I mean, that's a big step in terms of sovereignty, and I think it's the wrong thing to do when we're actually seeing continued thickening of the border. And there has been some success with the lobbying efforts in Washington, but not to the degree of the success that's necessary when we have our trucks and other types of programs ground to a halt, like Nexus, for example, where they routinely check vehicles more than that they should have been under the original guise of the program. So, that's what I think we should be doing, and I think the summer is going to be a little bit different because now that these operation mechanisms are visible and in the communities, they're actually on the ground now, and people they get nervous about going across the border now more than ever before. So there's a psychological element that people will say, well, maybe I'll make a different choice.